excited because I kind of expected things to drop some while the excitement waned. But then as engineers and entrepreneurs are building more and more of an infrastructure around Bitcoin, it looks like it's going to happen. In fact, what I didn't realize was that so many of the cryptocurrencies would be sort of marginalized, where they would lose their backing or the entrepreneur who's driving them, and that consolidates more of that activity around Bitcoin. So I actually think 250 may be a little bit light. It may actually be more like 2023, like the beginning of 2023. But all systems seem to be go for a real Bitcoin. A lot of excitement around it.
Awesome, Tim. Building on that, we've got a halving coming up.
Consolidates.
What do you think
more of that activity
is affecting price? How are you seeing this affecting the market right now?
Well, I can just tell you what it's done to price each time in the past. It's created a quantum jump in the price, but there's a lag. So the halving happens and nothing really happens to the price for a while. And then people realize that, the mining it's going to take to get to a Bitcoin, it's going to be harder. And so it's got to be worth more to keep the mining going. But then I don't know what it is that drives it well beyond that, because if you do the math on the halving, you end up somewhere around my $250,000 prediction at about the same time. So it's really interesting how those two things have come together. My prediction was really based on creating enough of an infrastructure to bring Bitcoin to a 5% market share around the world as a currency. Well, the halving, if you kind of run the numbers on the halving, it comes up about the same time at about the same price. So I was sort of excited to see that, and it's just, God, Satoshi, way to go, man! This was what you came up with is so extraordinary.
I agree, amazing stuff. Really an incredible experiment. Now, you mentioned mining capitulation right now. It's a bit of a topic that's being talked about in cryptocurrency. And just to give everyone context, the idea being that there'll be a halving, or half of the Bitcoin is going to be paid out, and therefore it's going to be much more expensive to run mining operations. So some miners are actually closing down potentially. There could be a consolidation of miners. We've just got a tweet here that's come out and from William Hofford. I just want to quote this to you. He says that Bitcoin miners would lose about $45,341 per block mined, with 2,159 transactions per block. Therefore, he's predicting that if today this was to happen, the Bitcoin Bitcoin transaction fees would need to go to around $21 per transaction to make that up. What are your thoughts on that kind of prediction?
Well, I think the reason that the halving makes so much sense is that what Satoshi really came up with was something to counter the effects of Moore's law, where a mining rig, $1,000 worth of compute power doubles every 18 months. Now it's actually more like every 14 months. And so when you say that the mining will become consolidated, I'm not so sure that's true, because new miners can come in with new machines and they can compete with the big, bit names of the world, and that will continue to happen. And the halving is just a way of counteracting Moore's law on mining equipment. So I think it actually it all sort of shakes out. I do know that mining is going to be a cyclical business. It's going to come, it's going to go, it's going to come back, it's going to go, it's going to get bigger, it's going to get smaller. All of those things are going to happen over time. But overall, miners are going to make money, a lot of money.
What do you think, I guess you talked about worried about the centralization of mining. And obviously, with Moore's law, it's flattened out a lot over time now. It's become, it's not as quick, which is interesting in and of itself. Potentially, there are other technologies that could come in, but let's remove that for a second. A lot of people talk about this centralization. Do you think there will be centralization, big mining operations in mining in the future, or do you think that this, the hobbyists will still be able to join and keep this decentralized nature of Bitcoin?
Well, I think the hobbyist who buys their equipment at the right time can certainly benefit and become a successful miner. I think, sure, some of it will become centralized. I think there will always be competition for that mining, even as mining becomes much more professionalized and certain groups will have a bigger and bigger share of it. I think that will be counteracted by new equipment, and that's already happening. The new Antminer is bringing in a ton of new miners. They're saying, "Hey, look what I can do." Before the halvening, I can make a whole bunch of money. After the halvening, really just depends on what happens to the price.
Okay. Now, let's move on from that. I think, it's exciting times. It's going to play out. Bitcoin hash rates obviously moving around, slightly down right now as well.
Hey, one more thing about mining. It might be that a lot of the reason the whole world doesn't mine is that it has been harder to do. You need to buy the equipment. Usually there's some code you have to write for it, or it's complicated. Well, I think that some entrepreneur might simplify that and create an app that just says, "Here, start mining now, and I want you to mine this and this." Or even AI does all the mining for them, and they say, "Okay, I want this much Bitcoin, this much Tezos, this much Ethereum," and use the AI to figure out which one and when. I think mining actually could be, in fact, mining could also be where the profit is built in based on the current price of any coin. So people would know exactly what they were going to make in buying a miner. So I think there is businesses and technologies and engineers, they all evolve. And that evolution can only help us. And this new decentralized world is a part of our, this whole human evolution. So I think we're, when people panic about one thing or another, what they're missing is that entrepreneurs will come in to solve those problems. And that is what makes our business so good, the venture business. And it makes a really great horse race for all those entrepreneurs.
Let's move on, talking about Silk Road and Ross Albright. Firstly, you put out a tweet.
Free Ross, baby! Get him out. We need entrepreneurs like that guy. Get him out of jail. My God, why do you put these really extraordinary people in jail? We need their minds and their energy and their force, their life force. Get him free. Who knows what else he could have come up with.
So he was.
I get that he's got to be an example, and he stepped over the line and all that. But he's been in jail for a while. Get him out. But why? God, I cry when my cat has to go into a cage. It tears my heart out when all these prisoners are in cages. There's got to be a better way for crime and punishment than what we have. I think we are not being human. Humanity is not being human by putting all these people in jail.
I think there's a lot of people, for example, as well, with new technologies, like, with Napster, for example, was probably the beginning of some of the streaming technologies potentially, and
sure.
Those kind of things. And
we'd have no Skype if we hadn't had Kazaa. Yeah, I mean, think about all the great things that have come from these extraordinary entrepreneurs that have tried new things, and they were cutting new turf, and the society didn't know how to deal with them, and some of them get put into jail, and some become billionaires. You know, I think we want to make sure that those people are well taken care of somehow. You know, you've got to put some sort of a restriction on them. That's fine, but I mean, boy, putting them in jail, I just don't think it's healthy, and I don't think it's good for society, particularly a society that is really thriving on the success of entrepreneurs. When you look at the 10 biggest companies in the world every 10 years, 7 of them change over. And that's because of entrepreneurs. And that's because we are looking for these extraordinary people who try to improve our world. And Ross was one of those.